More than 80% of the world's trade moves by sea. The ocean sustains livelihoods, regulates our climate, and is home to extraordinary biodiversity. This year's World Maritime Day is celebrated under the theme, Our Ocean, Our Obligation, Our Opportunity, reminding us of both the responsibility and the potential that the maritime sector holds. South Africa, through its shipping industry and research programs like the SA Agulhas II, plays an active role in this global conversation. Joining us now is the Deputy Minister of Transport, Mkhuleko Hlengwa. Deputy Minister, appreciate your time this afternoon. Now, let's talk about this year's theme, Our Ocean, Our Obligation, Our Opportunity. What does it mean for South Africa specifically?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you and the viewers. Well, this year's World Maritime Day comes at an opportune moment for South Africa insofar as the global shifts are concerned in maritime transportation. We are settled with the situation that the instabilities which prevail in the Middle East, which have amongst others affected the Suez Canal, have redirected maritime transport and travel to the Cape of Good Hope, which is, of course, within the jurisdiction of South Africa as part of our 3,000-kilometer coastline, and our obligations for, amongst others, safety stretch all the way down to the Antarctica, to the east, all the way up to Mozambique, west in Angola. So we are, at this point in time, a high-performance maritime nation with heightened levels of responsibility. It also comes, of course, with its own fundamental risks in that the IMO has set a target of net zero emissions by 2050. And so when we actually, as a country, attract the kind of traffic that we do, we are finding ourselves squarely in the midst of having to deal, amongst others, with those responsibilities. It's a safety issue, as this is work we also undertake with one of our entities, SAMSA, and the MRCC Center in Cape Town, which is responsible for surveying and surveilling the entire water flow of the country that we are responsible for. It's risks around oil spillages, it's risks around accidents within the ecosystem, and therefore what that means is that our travel poses a risk for the biodiversity and the environment at sea. And so the clarion call by the IMO is for us to ensure that there's responsibility in how we handle the flow of goods. As your intro correctly says, 80% of global trade is moved via sea travel, and we have seen almost an 82% increase of traffic on South African waters because of the current prevailing challenges. And so we are fast becoming a maritime nation as a country, which has to therefore play a leading role in all the issues. And one of them is, of course, job creation. One of the major focus areas for us in this term of government is job creation in a capable state. We've already signed an MOU with Sweden, which is a mutual recognition of competencies for our seafarers. There's over 2 million seafarers around the world, and South Africa continues to produce that high skill set and expertise, which if opportunities are not available at home, we are then able to ensure that we transplant those skills around the world as part of our ongoing responsibility. So that's where the opportunities are. This is for job creation. This is for economic growth. It's for economic development.
Deputy Minister, you touched on an important issue that I wanted to speak to, and that's around job creation. But you've also talked about we have a 3,000-kilometer coastline, an 82% increase in traffic in recent times. So let's focus a little bit on in the ocean economy, what it offers in terms of jobs, investment, and industrial development. I mean, a big part of what we're doing is obviously exporting talent, but locally there's unemployment that's particularly high. Just what inroads are you making? I mean, you've talked about plans. How are those plans coming together?
Well, amongst others, the initiatives that you have is with one of our entities, for lack of a better phrase, or partners, which is SAIMI, housed at the Nelson Mandela University in PE. And what it is doing is it is developing curriculum and producing skills which are needed by maritime. It's looking at innovation for creating jobs. We've got maritime engineering amongst others, and so that is of critical importance to us because those are actually skills needed, and therefore it's skills we are placing within the broader ecosystem of the maritime sector. Up and beyond, we as the Department of Transport, through partnerships with 13 universities in the country, are ensuring that the skills development that is required is being produced, and therefore we are actually putting those jobs out, people out into jobs. We've got an internship program within the department and within our entities, which is currently underway, traversing the entire transport ecosystem. This is issues around engineering, law, it's your technical skills, it is your financial skills, because there's also the economic aspects of the transport economy generally, but the maritime economy more specifically. Just a few months ago, we were also housing the biggest MSC vessel at our port in Gqeberha. And why that is important is that it was a strain test for us to see whether the inroads we are making insofar as Transnet is concerned are yielding results. We have registered an improvement in Transnet's performance as we reported the numbers for July 7 this year. And why that is important is as you move on road to rail, creating jobs, you are moving those goods onto maritime travel into the sea. So the whole ecosystem is now beginning to respond to each other as we put goods on rail and logistics on rail, moving them onto sea. We are beginning to see that there's progress in that regard. And obviously all of that is translating into jobs.
Now, when we talk about competing ports in Southern Africa, there's obviously an issue that arises where ports like Walvis Bay, Maputo, etc., offer competition to our own ports. How are we safeguarding our interests, if you will, or ensuring that we are the ports of choice, where those that are using our services do have the option of choice?
Well, I think the performance of Transnet and TNPA, which I've just reported on, is an indication of that we are arresting the decline of the competition that was being given to us by Walvis Bay and Maputo. Amongst others is that there is a significant improvement in the performance of Transnet. Just yesterday, I was convening the AGM of the ports regulator in Durban, and they were expressing to us the improvements that they are seeing and the take-up that they are seeing. And of course, the business at our ports is readily available for anybody to see. And the expansion and infrastructure build which we are rolling out is testament of the fact that we are competing favorably with those ports. But at the same time, we are also providing the necessary support to ensure that trade in the region is actually smooth. You will remember the challenges that took place at the Libombo border post, and we were working with our Mozambican counterparts to make sure that the trade which is on our roads between the countries specifically, but in the region more broadly, is also facilitated in a manner that will ensure that we improve on growth and development. So ours is a two-pronged approach. Obviously, we've got a national interest, but at the same time, we recognize the fact that border transportation is a key element, and we are now maximizing on that. We have directed the Cross-Border Road Transport Agency to begin innovating economically around the opportunities that are available, so that even if there are those who want to travel to their goods via from South Africa, for example, to Namibia or Mozambique, we still are able to plug in positive dividends for the South African economy for us to gain from that kind of travel.
Now, Deputy Minister, when we go beyond the coastline and deep into the waters, illegal fishing, piracy and pollution are real threats in Southern African waters. What strategies are the department pursuing to strengthen maritime security and law enforcement?
Well, as I indicated, our MRCC Center in Cape Town is doing very good work, and we have got a very good outlook insofar as projecting where challenges will be in navigating where the problems are. We've got the vessels which for tagging as a means of emergency response, which is important. Moreover, we as South Africa are chairing the Djibouti Code of Conduct, which amongst others looks at the challenges of security and piracy on the east coast of Africa. And our contributions there are very good. We have made good progress. We will actually be convening the next meeting in November, where we're going to be reporting back. What we have seen is that despite the increase in the number of vessels and travel in our waters, but we have not registered an increase in incidents on our water, and law enforcement obviously continues to be a key priority for us as a country. So we do believe that working with sister departments and the responsibilities that they have, we are in a very strong position. And I think the feedback that we received from the IMO in July when we were in London this year is very, very positive, because South Africa's work is being commended in managing the work that is and the traffic and the volumes which we are seeing around the Cape of Good Hope. So we are on a strong footing, but obviously there's a lot of investment into safety and security measures that we need to make, and the assessments continue in that regard in terms of what the immediate priorities will be that come with this traffic. The last point, obviously, is that what we have also picked up as a security issue is just generally the safety of vessels because of the number of containers that crash into the oceans. And so we need to ensure that there is smooth sailing around the floor beds, and we are able to pick up exactly where the bottlenecks and the red flags are to navigate our vessels correctly.
And finally, Deputy Minister, the one area of commendation obviously is around the SA Agulhas 2, which is not just a supply ship, but a floating laboratory. Can you talk about its role in advancing global science on ocean health and climate change?
No, thank you. In fact, it's one of the key areas which we should be proud of. I met with the gentleman who actually, amongst others, had bought into the Cape Agulhas, and the scientific innovation and research which is there is world class, and is going to, amongst others, ensure that South Africa is on a strong footing to be a global player. And these are the innovations which we believe are important because they plug into the work that SAIMI is doing at the university, Nelson Mandela University, for example, and with the broader ecosystem of higher education and training. And for us to be able to economize productively and for growth, what happens with that innovation. That entire ecosystem combined is what has put South Africa on a strong footing for us to raise our hand again for the IMO Council, with elections coming up in November, December this year in London, because we believe that the value proposition insofar as South Africa is concerned, and maritime travel and related spaces, it's key for us to be an active participant at a council level. And so we are borrowing from the kind of experiences you are speaking about and the investments in development and infrastructure build that we are plugging into the maritime space to make sure that we actually get the most out of it for national growth and national development.
Deputy Minister of Transport, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much for speaking to us as the world celebrates Maritime Day under the theme, Our Ocean, Our Obligation, Our Opportunity.